We're heading towards a Great Depression. And I mean, one that makes the Great Recession look like a little bit of a walk through the park. In 4 weeks, we've lost over 20 million jobs. 4 weeks. During that time period, the government has found its way to send out checks to some people totaling $1,200. Many people that received that $1,200 never saw a cent of it because it was taken up by bill collectors immediately. Any arrearages, etc., it was seized. So many people never saw a penny. It all went to corporations. Corporations who were already bailed out to the tune of trillions of dollars through Fed monetary policy. Now we're sitting here looking at losing roughly 5 million jobs a week. 5 million jobs a week. And if you think that's nothing to sneeze at, let me tell you it gets worse. Because not only is the jobless claims going through the roof, we still haven't figured out this whole federal finance thing yet. Don't ask me why, but there are people still talking about other things than the economy. There are still people distracted about other things other than the economy. You know, most of us are trapped in a house except for the friggin' jihadis out there that are spreading the disease. You know, we can look through the slats in our windows and smile as we watch the right wing congregate spreading the disease to one another. But the real story here is, even now as we speak, groups like the Washington Post of all places, as terrible of a publication as it is, it's one of the most read publications there is. And they're projecting out record government and corporate debt, risks tipping point after pandemic passes. The public and private sectors are setting red ink highs to stave off a recession. Now, public debt, we're going to put that over here for just a minute because that's the government creating money. But on the other side of that ledger is private debt, whether it be corporate debt, whether it be student loan debt, whether it be UMI's mortgage, whether it be a corporation going into debt to keep its operations going through this downturn, whatever. But that debt will have to be paid back. And if it's not paid back, it will have to be discharged in bankruptcy. And what's happening is, once again, the federal government still hasn't quite figured out how to prevent a total meltdown in society. Now, that's not entirely true. There are people that get it, but they're few and far between. Far too many burners still are looking at Bernie's website at taxes to spend on things. Well, guys, guess what? There's no tax money being collected right now because commerce is at a standstill. How will you pay to keep the economy going? How? How will you pay for the economy to be going if there's no tax revenue? You're going to figure it out one of these days. You didn't figure it out when Bernie was running, and that's a shame. You didn't figure it out the first time when Bernie was running, and that's a shame. But it wasn't because real progressives wasn't standing there every single step along the way explaining to you that federal taxes don't fund spending. Because we did. And we did it for years, and we got lambasted and laughed at. And now, we're heading into the greatest depression we've ever seen. And you still haven't figured out that taxes do not fund spending, that the government itself creates money, and it's going to have to create megabucks as it's already done, it's going to need to create even more megabucks. It's going to need to create trillions and trillions and trillions of megabucks. And the federal government's on its way this year to spending nearly $4 trillion more than it collects in revenue. Big freaking deal. Do you understand that the taxation literally is deleted? Because what happens is this: in a fiat currency, there's no gold. They don't have to recycle those pieces of bullion. It's just pieces of paper and digits. Just digital currency. You can't run out of it, literally. But you can't get it through your fucking head that we can't run out of it. But yet you still sit there and think that somehow or another we got to tax our way to prosperity. What the hell will it take to make you wake up to save us all so you understand? What will it take for you to wake up, America? What will it take to make you wake up and realize, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a progressive, that if you don't understand economics, we're all gonna fucking die? It's that simple. If I could go point by point, person by person, put their picture up and show you all the people that rejected this knowledge. Big time group owners that sit there and thought they were better than this, knew it all. Talking about the value of the dollar and petrodollars and all this other shit. Well, guess what? Nobody's driving around. What's up with the petrodollar, fools? I'm telling you right now, you're going to need to snap out of it so we can live. This is like you're in a cave and you see this monster coming at you, and the person you're with is sitting there frozen, completely locked, stuck, just done. They can't move. They're scared to death. You're like, smack them upside the face, say, wake up, snapperhead. We got to get out of here. They're like, oh, okay, as they piss their pants and they run out of the cave. That's what we're dealing with here, folks. I wish that me having a clear conscience, having told you all this for years, was enough to make me survive, but it won't. Sadly, I'm dependent on you figuring this out too, which is a real fucking shame, isn't it? Because I've been saying it for 10 years, 5 as real progressives, and you still haven't heard. Stephanie Kelton's all over the place trying to tell you this story, and you still haven't heard. Rashida Tlaib's out there saying, God, they won't listen. Here, let's go ahead and mint some $1 trillion coins at the mint and deposit them so that you'll listen. You still aren't out there talking about it. Pavlina Cherneva's begging people, please nationalize payroll. Pramila is out there doing the same thing now, trying to get us to nationalize payroll. Trying to get you guys to realize this ain't your grandma's depression. And this isn't cool, guys. We don't get to watch the collapse, man. That's not what's going to happen here. I hate to break it to you. It's going to be ugly, but it ain't going to be ugly for the wealthy. This is the key you got to get through your head. It isn't going to be ugly for the wealthy. They're going to be fine. It's going to be hell on earth for people that have regular mortgages, not even broke people, people that put away a few bucks, thought they were doing pretty good, go on a vacation here and there. Those kind of people even are going to be hurt. You know, people sit there at the water cooler. How's your 401k doing there, Scotty? Well, it went up a 1/4 point. Yeah, those people, they're going to be hurting too. Even those people. Wow, that looks like the brand new BMW 330i over there, isn't it? You better believe it, man. Even that guy's going to be hurting. How much more do you think it's going to hurt when you're the person already jonesing for some dog food, much less some tuna fish, much less some ramen noodles? You better fucking learn this stuff. This isn't like a call in some whimsical fashion. The Washington Post is running around trying to tell everybody how desperate it is about borrowing. The government's borrowing trillions and trillions of dollars. The government doesn't borrow money from anyone. And the asshole that talks about the private Federal Reserve, literally bust a fist in them. Drop them like a freaking bad habit, man. Get them out of here. Skedaddle. That shit's got to stop. It's stupid fuck talk. And it's lethal to us right now. That ignorance is unacceptable. It's no longer just a cute little fun game you're talking about anymore. Now people are going to die because of that stupidity. And folks, I can't make it softer. I can't make it more gentle. I can't make it more palatable. Death sucks. Starvation sucks. Joblessness sucks. Families splitting apart suck. So you're going to have to get past your desire for the private Federal Reserve and the Rothschilds. You're going to have to get past yourself on that. You're going to have to become useful to society. You're going to have to raise the bar up. Come out of the Cro-Magnon stage into the human level. Because, folks, if you don't get this, and I mean it, if you don't get this, the suffering on this planet is going to be biblical. It's going to be epic. I don't want to be a part of that, quite frankly. But I don't really have a choice because I got to wait on you to stop grousing about the bloodline of the Rothschilds. Right here, right now, 22 million people have lost their jobs, and it's more than that. Probably millions more since I last said 22 million have already lost their jobs. Many, the fiscal year for their cycle is coming up June 1. And there will be a new round of layoffs when the next budget cycle goes through. You haven't seen anything yet. You should be on your phone calling your congressmen and women. You should be burying your face learning about MMT so that you can tell these people what the deal is, so you can demand better. And your Congress critters that are running for office, these people that aren't saying this stuff, should not even sniff office. If someone running for office doesn't understand that the federal government creates currency when it spends, they should not have a seat in office. They don't deserve a seat in office. This information has been available to alternative media. They've ignored it. It's been available to our politicians. They've ignored it. It's been available to voters. They've ignored it. Now we're going to die if you don't figure it out. Unacceptable on every fucking level. Unacceptable. And let me tell you the worst part. Should Biden become the nominee, with this $4 trillion in deficits here in 2020, you can rest assured the narrative will be Republicans blow up the deficit, Democrats must reduce the deficit, and they will suck the money out of the economy, further crippling it in the name of reducing the deficit. Mark my words, this is a Joe Biden signature move. And it's a Nancy Pelosi signature move. And as bad as the Republicans are, the minute the Democrats get in there, they're going to suddenly be talking about deficit reduction. And you know what it's going to come down to, right? It's not going to be the tax cuts. They're not going to raise taxes. It's going to be cutting services for the poor. It's going to be raising Social Security age to like 90. It's going to be doing other crazy shit about eating our peas. All because you didn't know how to tell your congressmen and women, and didn't know how to tell your senators, and didn't know how to speak to your local newspapers and your local television stations, and you didn't know how to listen to the correct alternative media that understands economics. You chased after people talking petrodollars, those same things, or talking UBIs and crap. Okay? That is what's going to kill us. This isn't something that private banks can generate enough money. It doesn't work that way. This isn't something that quantitative easing will fix. It doesn't work that way. This is something only Congress can fix. Congress must pass a major spending bill. And I would strongly suggest that it literally spend enough money to keep us even with what was going on before the virus hit. And I would suggest it nationalize payroll for a minimum of 6 months. A minimum. And I would suggest immediately instituting a federal job guarantee. Nothing is the same. The post office is going to need to be nationalized again. Things about our entire economy are going to have to be nationalized to keep afloat. And that's not a bad thing. You're not going to be able to remain economically illiterate and us survive. You don't get to hold on to your hard-earned false beliefs and we survive. You will need to get smarter, you will need to learn, and you will need to care about this subject enough that we have a chance. Because the only chance we have, because the rich are already rich, they've got stuff. Our supply chain is breaking down as we speak. There isn't a prayer if we allow it all to collapse, because food production is going to become a serious issue. And if you think it's the bourgeoisie that's still flying around in private jets, if you think it's them that are going to suffer, why don't you take a look at your children? That's who's going to really suffer. And I'd like to tell you this. There are groups out there that won't pay any attention. I'm serious. You can go to them, and I could start rattling off Bernie groups and other groups out there that are so focused on nonsense, chasing Blofeld around, James Bonding it up, that there'll be absolutely no practical good whatsoever in pushing back and demanding Congress spend on us. They won't pay attention to this. They'll skip it. But the truth of the matter is that if this is not the number one idea in your brain, there'll be no health care. There'll be no Green New Deal. There'll be no student debt reduction or elimination. And there'll be a tremendous depression with people losing their homes, families breaking up, and the rich buying your assets for pennies on the dollar. That's the fact, Jack. I'd like to say, wouldn't it be great if you could hear me say how horrible Donald Trump is? Wouldn't it be great if I could say that and it be the biggest, most important thing I said? But it's not. The fear has to be that the Democrats that they're advancing right now are austerity-driven, economically libertarian, neoliberal to the core. And their goal is to fatten Wall Street, fatten investors. Has nothing to do with you and I. We're chattel. We're nothing to them. We're just a profit-making machine for them. Our lives are forfeit to them. And any lip service they pay is just that, lip service. Donald Trump is just a terrible guy, an idiot. I mean, an absolute moron. But I'm telling you right now, Democrats, core Democrats, vote blue no matter who Democrats, are so trapped in this vote blue mindset that they cannot conceive that they might be wrong. They cannot conceive that their ideas might be wrong. And they always point over to the other guy. Mitt Romney would have been the devil if he would have been elected. Freaking John McCain would have been the devil if he would have been elected. Bob Dole would have been the devil if he'd have been elected. Every Republican you ever hear would have been the worst. I mean, the second coming of Lucifer. And don't get me wrong, Republicans suck balls. They're terrible. But they're always going to be that, right? Donald Trump is a direct cause and effect of the ill treatment and the ill output of neoliberal thinking. The eat your peas, I know better than you liberal, the Rahm Emanuels of the world, the Obamas of the world. Sorry, folks, your hero sucked. The Bill Clintons and the Hillary Clintons of the world want you to eat your peas and take out loans from their buddies at the banks. That's neoliberalism. They won't spend. They want to reduce deficits. That means retract government dollars from the economy and push you to private dollars from banks that have to be paid back in loans, meaning you never get out of the debt trap. This is the psychotic thinking of the neoliberal mindset, folks. And this is what Joe Biden and this is what Donald Trump are putting out there. So this isn't a matter of who you vote for because it's coming either way. This is a matter of you understanding how the economy works and understand that the federal government is the wellspring from which money is generated. When the government tells the Fed it's spending money, the Fed keystrokes their accounts and the money is created. Bonds and stuff like that. Let me tell you what bonds are. Bonds are simply a tool to manage interest rates and nothing more. And they are a cheap savings account for the rich. They don't ever have to worry about a bond. Bonds always pay. They're the safest investment in the world because guess what? Government checks don't bounce. And that's it. That's your bond. Your bond market is to control interest rates for bank lending, which is what the neoliberals are pushing you to, is bank lending. And the bonds are simply there to offset inflation and to be able to sell a basic income basically to the wealthy. That's it. It's not debt like you and I have it. Government creates a shit with their fingers. Chick, chick, chick. So this Great Depression that's coming, Washington Post is already gearing up to tell you that we're going to have to reduce the deficit. And God knows Trump spent that deficit money on all the wrong things. Horrible. Sorry, all you apologists out there that try to make Trump seem like a great guy. He's not. His economics suck. And he's clueless on how to handle this. But so is Biden. And worse, the Democratic establishment. Their bread and butter is deficit reduction. Their bread and butter is reducing the debt. Their bread and butter is fear porn about economy. Ever since Brother Bill, quote unquote, balanced the budget and destroyed the economy. But folks, you understand when you reduce the deficit, you are literally taking more money out of the economy than you're putting into it because taxes are deleted. They don't get recycled. The government doesn't have a piggy bank there with the surplus. The surplus is deleted dollars. Do you understand? Please, dear God, tell me you understand this now. There should be no more discussion. You should get this, but you don't. Why? Why don't you get this? Why don't you understand? Why do you listen to the voices that don't get this? Our lives are on the line right now. And to think there are people out there that said it was a cult. Just as useless as a wet piece of toilet paper. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, folks. And I hope to God, for all of our sake, climate change coming, healthcare, people's healthcare is tied to the goddamn jobs. And 20 million just got let go. Folks, are you not hearing me? It's time to do better. And we got to fight like hell. You cannot skip to the next subject. You must stay focused. Have a good night, everybody.